Peter Kuran is a whiz when it comes to anything in film special effects or animation. In fact, he's worked on numerous household favorites such as Men in Black, Robocop, and the oh-so-iconic Star Wars, winning him an Academy Award along the way. Please welcome Peter Kuran.
Hello. Excuse me for wearing glasses, but once you're 40, you'll know you'll have to wear glasses if you don't wear them now. But thank you, and I'm here to share my interests, the influences, inspirations, and motivations that have led to my career. Should I be standing away from this thing? Oh. Anyway, I now live in Vancouver, Washington. Our family moved up here 7 years ago. But my interest in special effects, I've been interested in special effects since I was a kid. When I was 7 years old, I was interested in special effects. And one of my heroes, inspirations, is a guy named Harryhausen. And these are some of the movies he made. I love monster movies when I was a kid, and especially because they all had special effects in them, and I thought that was like magic. And to me, you know, I wanted to be a part of this magic, so I used to read everything I could about how to do the special effects. And let me just hold after this. I just want to go off script for a second. I had started looking for my school to go to for my career. I actually went to a school at first to check it out. It's called Temple University, and I used to have this book called The Technique of Special Effects Cinematography. It stayed in my bathroom for decades after I just read through it, and I found that the guy who wrote the book actually taught at Temple University. So when I was looking for schools, I went there first, and I said, you know, I really want to get into special effects, and you wrote the book on it. And he said at the time, and this was before Star Wars, there's no work in special effects. You know, you'll never find a job. And I said, well, I'm not going here. So I went to CalArts. I went to the California Institute of the Arts out in Valencia, California, because they had some great classes and all sorts of film work. And I'd gone on a work-study program at Disney Studios, and I was there every day, and they wanted to eventually get rid of me. So they said, you know, there's this movie being made by the guy who made American Graffiti, George Lucas. It's a science fiction movie. Why don't you go and check that out and see if they need to hire somebody. So I put a demo reel together. If you want to just hold on this for a second. We didn't have DVDs. We didn't have VHS. We didn't have online, you know, hey, go check out my demo reel online. We had film, and I had to cut it together. And it's like to show my demo reel, I had to cut all these pieces of film together, and I got the reel together, and then I went to go bring him to John Dykstra, who should be the next picture. He was the special effects supervisor on Star Wars, and I brought my projector, because you needed a projector. It weighed 50 pounds. And I carried it into the screening room at Star Wars when we were working in Van Nuys, California. And I put my reel on, and as I was running the reel, all of the splices broke. And to show you what a miserable experience that was, I found a little demonstration film online that, you know, from years ago. You'll never see this again because they don't show movies in school on projectors or anywhere else, but I have this little movie I want you to see to show you how horrible it was when I showed them my demo reel.
Suppose the film broke in the middle of the screening. Here's what to do to avoid too much annoyance to your audience. Turn off the projector. Keep calm and don't let the audience rattle you. Open the film gate to release the tension on the film. Flip open the 3 sprocket shoes and quickly but carefully remove the film from the sprockets. Wind the loose film onto the take-up reel. Lift the broken end of the film and place the new end under it. Turn the take-up reel to make sure the new end is snug Then pull down the film from the feed reel, allowing yourself a little more than normal. Then start rethreading. Remember, this operation must be performed properly, so take your time. Never attempt to patch or fasten a broken film when a break happens, because you have already delayed the show long enough.
Well, needless to say, I was mortified, and at the point, John Dykstra kind of didn't really know what to say. I mean, he wasn't terribly impressed, and he certainly wasn't impressed in my splicing abilities. But so I thought about it for a minute, and I said, look, just give me a week. Hire me for a week for free. You don't have to pay me anything. Just give me a job for a week, and if you don't like what I do, if I'm not capable of doing the work, you don't owe me anything, just let me go, and then you don't owe me anything. And so John agreed to that. And I mean, at the time, I was only 19 years old, and this was my dream job. I didn't go home. I often slept in a bunk at the studio, and one morning I woke up and discovered someone had painted my toenails black. It shows you how asleep I was, that somebody was able to actually go in and paint all my toenails black. And these are some pictures from Star Wars. You notice I never smile. None of the pictures I ever smile. And it's always an effort to me to work. And if you want something and you have a setback, don't let it bother you. In any case, while I was working on Star Wars, I was a lot skinnier than I am today. And they said, hey, we're going to put you in the C-3PO suit and go shoot a shot out in the desert with the land speeder, because one of the problems back then, and you have to remember, all of these things that I'm talking about today are before computers, okay? The land speeder was a three-wheel car from England, and they're always trying to figure out how to get rid of the wheels, because it's supposed to look like it floats above the landscape. And somebody had the idea, we're going to put a mirror underneath and point the mirror down at the ground, and it's going to reflect the ground. And it did a great job, but they needed somebody to be in the C-3PO suit because the actor, Anthony Daniels, was English, and they didn't want to bring him all the way over from England. They'd rather just find some poor kid that was working for them and stick him in the suit. And I had to go pick up Mark Hamill, too, who, by the way, had just had an accident. If you're ever wondering why, at the beginning of Empire Strikes Back, he gets the crap kicked out of him by this big white monster, it's because he didn't really quite look the same. And so they wanted, and he had a pin in his nose. He had been in an accident. He had a pin in his nose. He was totally grossing me out by just pushing this pin back and forth in his nose. I was just saying, stop, just stop, please. So anyway, you can continue. It's just pictures of me out in the desert. Now, at the end of the movie, they said, hey, would you just stay on? You know the C-3PO suit better than most. Why don't you help Anthony Daniels, because he's going to put his footprint in the Mann's Chinese Theater in Hollywood. You know, they have all the footprints. So I helped him. I helped him put his footprint in there. And since then, I've worked on about 300 movies, and I just wanted to share some of my experiences. Now, one of them was on Star Wars. One of the things that I had come up with was like interactive light and shadows. Now, I know this looks kind of silly, but in 5th grade, I took what do you call it? I took an aptitude test. And I think many of you have probably gone through it. They have these little cards, and they show you the card, and they go, what do you think of this? What's missing? The guy said, well, what's missing? And I said, I don't know. I don't know what's missing. So he goes to put the card away, and I said, wait a minute. What's missing? Would you tell me what's missing? And he said, the shadow of the tree. Because you have the sun, you have the house, and the house is casting a shadow, but the tree isn't casting a shadow. Now, I remembered that, and I applied that lesson later on when I was working on Star Wars and Empire, because I thought this is a very subtle way of making things more interactive. So on those movies, one of the things that I did was I animated little shadows in so that things looked like they were actually more interactive with the scene. Now, I'm going to show this scene from Empire Strikes Back, and I know you want to look at everything, but just look at the shadows, because you probably never noticed them before. But and you're not supposed to, but it helps to, make things more interactive. If you want to go ahead and show that. So, today, CG can add all of these things in, interactive light, interactive shadows, all that kind of stuff. But back then, that wasn't like set in stone. Nobody really thought about that, and that's something that I had thought about, and I wanted to add to these shots to make them more interactive. Now I gotta move along a little bit faster. So problem solving starts by careful observation, okay? And you can apply that to things that you do. Now the next thing I want to show is this picture of the Thing title. Okay, now I did the opening titles for The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, and like I said, this is before CG. So I'm going to go to the next one. I'll show you exactly how I did it. I bought a fish tank, and I put the title on the back of the fish tank, and then behind that I had a piece of garbage bag plastic. And behind that, I had a light. Now, when I turned the camera on, I put a match into the garbage bag plastic, and it would open up and burn, and it let the light through, and then you would see the title. Now, knowing how that was done, why don't we watch it, and it should be pretty obvious. I had to do a number of takes because they all didn't work out. One take actually just opened up and revealed the letters NG, which, if you know what NG means, it means no good. It's just so that one was obviously no good. Then the third one I want to show is from Beetlejuice. Now, basically, I'll set this up for you. Beetlejuice is getting married, and there's this little car. The character named Adam is put onto this table, and he gets in this little miniature car. The miniature car goes over the table, goes down on the ground, and then keeps driving, and then hits Beetlejuice in the foot and explodes. Now, it sounds really simple. It sounds like something that, well, that doesn't sound terribly difficult. Well, I don't know if you ever tried taking a miniature car, pushing it off the table, and seeing if it just hits the ground and then keeps going instead of tumbling or doing something like that. We could never get it to work. So I had this idea that, well, the floor was added. So we could lift the floor up off the ground and push the car backwards. And when it got to the point, I took a hammer underneath the floor, and I wrapped it up underneath the floor, and the car flew up off the floor. And then we just printed it backwards, and it landed on the floor. So we'll show that. So you can see the whole sequence, and then you just see it in slow motion.
Telling you, honey, she meant nothing to me. Nothing at all. I now pronounce you God. And
Okay, now we'll show the piece again in slow motion and then backwards. And when it runs backwards, it's exactly how it was shot in the first place, hitting it under the table. Okay, now this is how it was actually shot. The boom! In any case, I'm sorry, I'm running a little long. In any case, I wanted to just sort of review some of the things that I had talked about. For one thing, the interview with John Dykstra went terrible, but don't let it stop you. You know, if you really want the job, you know, tell them I'll work for free. You know, you don't owe me anything. Just give me a chance. Give me a chance to try it out. And most importantly, be a problem solver, because I've noticed that there's lots of problems wherever you go, in your work, in whatever you have. And if you're a problem solver, people are going to hire you because they're always making problems, and they need somebody to help solve them. So just keep that in mind. You'll be a problem solver. You'll do great. And anyway, I wanted to show the last picture. This is from the 40th anniversary. That was this year of Star Wars. These are actually the people I worked with on Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi, and I'm right behind C-3PO. You can just sort of see me up there. Anyway, it was, you know, and when you get old, time goes fast. You know, you may not know it now, but as you get older, things just seem to go faster. You know, so just go for it. You know, just work and whether you think you're good or not, just you're probably better than most. So anyway, there you go. Thank you.